Okay, let's see how this works. We are back in RBS, and good to be here. Although it's kind of cold, it raining yesterday, rained a couple of days, so good to get some rain. A little cold though. That's the only tricky part, but not as cold as last week. Last shot was in Budapest, so had a really nice time over the past couple of days back in Erzurum's, but 3 days in Budapest, freaking cold. Um, some interesting minhagim that I thought were minhagim, but turns out they were not. So they wanted me down in chakras, and as I'm doing Shemon Esrei, instead of saying Elkinu Seinu, some guy in the corner says Sim Shalom, and I'm thinking, oh, okay. I start saying Sim Shalom. All of a sudden, people yelling at me, "Nu Elkenu!" Oh, boom! So some guy kind of screwed me up. I don't know if it was on purpose or not. And then after laning by Yigash, some guy yells out Chazak, Chazak, and I'm like, wow, so interesting. Minhag of Budapest is to yell at every parsha, and all of a sudden, everyone yells at that dude. So those are not minhagim, just some some big mistakes that people made in davening in Hungary. But either way, it was really a really beautiful city. Just a little very cold there, so just don't go there when it's freaking freezing because it's freaking freezing. Okay, so we actually do have Chazak this parsha. So make sure you go to shul, yell at the right time, wait till laning's over, that kind of thing. And we close out the story, really the lessons, the teachings of the Avos. We really end the book with the Shvatim, but really with Yaakov. The past few weeks really focuses on Yaakov. And we know Yaakov lo mace. Yaakov doesn't die. Yaakov ishtam. We have to really understand what does it mean lo mace? What does it mean tam? So Murray Naim introduces this idea. Well, he doesn't really introduce it. Well, to me, he did. But the idea is something called tsurufe osios. Tsurufe. You got to kind of really do a chat GPT or look at some Hasidic Svarim about this. Um, Literally, the letters changing in a word could mean a whole different meaning, well, which is obvious. But the ability of that Hashem put this koach in all these letters of Lashon Kodesh, Aleph through Tav, all the letters, they mean something. Each letter means something, and when you change the letters around, it can not just change the meaning, but the certain kochos in the world can literally change. Hard to understand what that means exactly. How do we change the world? Hashem creates the world. How do we change it? How's it tzaddik? We always say this at the end of a siyum. Ele bonayach, we're builders. How's a tzaddik a builder of the world? Yeah, if you're a builder, you can build the world. If you're a tzaddik, how do you build the world? Everything is from Hashem. How does it even work? What is this meaning? What's the deal here? So the Marinayim kind of explains there's some words when you flip around, they really change the meaning, the intention, almost opposites. For example, the example of nega, affliction, saras. You flip it around, you have oneg. The opposite of nega is oneg, pleasure, affliction. Another idea is sheker and keresh. Sheker is falsehood, keresh is a plank. Maybe you want to say sheker is, not sturdy. Sheker lies, and keresh is a plank. The opposite is sturdiness, ms. Different words you can flip around. You can kind of have a good day, field day with kind of understand this. Tzinor, pipe, and rutzon. Again, but again, how does this help us? How does this actually this idea that changes the world? We know that in Avos Temamoros, what was created, Hashem could have done it in one. The point is, when Russia does something negative, he destroys the 10 Amaros of Hashem. When Tzaddik does something positive, it upholds 10 Mamoros of Hashem. Again, what does this even mean? So the Tzioni Hasidim, which is kind of this commentary that the Oz V'Hadar of Marinayim gives us certain perspective, I guess, in some of these teachings, is that when Tzaddik does things in the world, causes Shefa to come down, Hashem Shefa, obviously, but when things go south, Tzaddik kind of does things the opposite, or Russia does something that's against what the will of Hashem is, then the Shefa changes. The Shefa gets destroyed. And this is kind of what B'chukosai. If you listen, but that is ichkosai timasu. If you go against the, so if good things happen, shefa, bad things, shefa changes to bad things. Instead of it raining, it'll be flooding. Instead of having nice weather, it'll be cold. Instead of it being great in the summertime for crops to kind of dry, it'll rain. So Shefa can really change. Hashem does change it based on our actions. Sometimes a farmer can have a great crop and sometimes a bad. How does that happen? Well, and the idea is a person has to kind of understand intuition using Das to understand that the Yisurim are not for bad. Yisurim, quote unquote, punishments are here to kind of have us realize the Yisurim with Das and accept it ba'ahava to change certain of our actions. So Ishtam, complete, flipped around his mace. A person who doesn't really accept these ideas and kind of work to improve themselves, to understand how to work on themselves, how to understand their taivas are first supposed to be for the right things, and not to have bad wants or want bad things. You're mace, you're dead. There's no growth. You're shvira, you're broken. Like a broken keli can't hold anything. Opposite is tam. Tam is complete, complete keli. A keli is complete, no shvir, no brokenness, meaning you can accept and improve yourself to be a complete person. And that's Yaakov. The opposite of mace, flipped around, is tam. So he was not mace, he was tam. And this is the idea that the Mar wants to bring down. And this is kind of what, and he brings down, the Tzioni Hasidim bring down, Gemara and Brachos. We know that, which we're learning in Kinyan Masechta in the morning, which is a beautiful program. People are into it, different Gemaras. We started Brachos about a month ago. And Daf Hey talks about Yisurim is Ba'ava, and if not, it's Bedas. What does it mean, Das? And the idea is a person has to realize punishments aren't punishments. Punishments are to help you understand something. Father punishes a child, it's to have them be better in school. Can't be on the Xbox all day because you have to study. Oh, punishment. Well, not really a punishment. There's a reason for that. Can't have chocolate all day. Oh, it's a punishment. No, there's a reason for that. You have surgery on an arm. It's not a punishment. It's to have your arm work better. So this idea is we understand, but we have to kind of really internalize these ideas. And the Gemara brings us really, really fascinating story. I mean, Brachos is really packed with all these different stories. Oh, Rav Huna, the great Rav Huna, the Tana, has 400 barrels. Amora has 400 barrels of wine, and it turns to vinegar. Gemara Daf Haman Bays, and the Chachamim come to his house. They knock on the door, and they say, "Look at your actions." So the Gemara doesn't say what was going on there. The Rabbanan aren't yelling at him. They want him to understand what's going on. We heard something going on there. Barrels. We went to the marketplace, perhaps. We thought there'd be all this wine from Rav Huna, the great Rav Huna. There'd be wine, gunished, or they heard it was bad, something. But they leave it at that. They just came. Look at your actions. A person's supposed to. Bad things happen. You're supposed to kind of act. Did I do bad things? If I did do bad things, what are my good things? Am I really doing the good things right? Am I giving the right amount of tzedakah? Am I learning Torah the right way? Am I doing it for kavod? Am I giving a class because I want people to think I'm so special? Am I learning, I don't know, Mishnah Yomi because I just want to impress people? You look at your good actions. So they go to Rav Huna and they knock on the door and they say, what's going on? And Rav Huna thinks for a second. He says, you suspect me of something? This is awkward. You suspect me of something? And they say back to Rav Huna, you think God would do something without din? You think that's the case? And Rav Huna says, so what's, let me think. And he understands that he actually cheated out his workers. He has sharecroppers in the vineyards, literally in the vineyards where the wine is being made. Instead of leaving the branches, 30% for the workers, keeping 70%, he keeps almost all of it for himself. And their buttons say, we heard that you stole from the sharecroppers. And Rav Huna says, I didn't steal anything. They took more than they were supposed to, so I held on to the rest. And the Chum say, this is not, this is not the proper thing to do. This is not the right thing for Huna to do. If you have a taina against your sharecroppers, you can't just steal back. Go to Besdin, go to court. That's the right way to do this. So even in the action, the Huna thought he was totally justified. So was it stealing? Was it not stealing? Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. But that was wrong for Rav Huna to do. And Rav Huna rectifies this, he understands this, and the Gemara says, miracle happens. Either either the price of vinegar rose to wine, which is crazy miracle in itself, or the vinegar turns back into wine, literally flips back into wine. So the Maranaim, the idea is when a person understands that the punishments are really the tova, miracles can happen. What miracles? But the shefa flips back, as Yossi Friedman says, the lines are crossed. When you're kind of not understanding the lines and the shefa, you understand what's going on in the world, shefa changes. You have to kind of readjust, realign the wires, and shefa comes back to normal. And this is what Maranaim says, that tzaddik builds the world, and Russia can destroy the world because the shefa is there. It's supposed to be for a good thing. And when a Russia does something and it changes bad, the tzaddik is able to kind of realign this. When you accept your surim, be bedas with understanding, and you improve yourself, that I have to work on myself to get the shefa to be good again. That's working with das. That's working surim ba'ava. And this is the idea of Yaakov, that low mace, that he was tam. The idea is that's Yaakov. Yaakov, if you look at his whole life story, it's rough stories, rough stories. But at the end of his life, he was Yisrael. He sees all his children together. He sees his grandchildren in Mitzrayim. He sees what Yosef is doing, what Yosef has become. All the 12 Shvatim are together. They're Ba'achdus, and they're living what they're supposed to do, meaning they're living what Hashem wanted. They should be in Shibud, they should be in Golos in Mitzrayim, so they should be able to get the Torah. And when a person sees this, he lives his life by saying anything Hashem did, everything Hashem did is l'tovah, everything is fine. That's the ultimate purpose, is a greater purpose, long game, not short, small things. That's the Bechina of Yaakov, of Ishtam. And that's something we should all hopefully strive to as we close up Bereshis. And with that, Shabbat Shalom.